All right. So the following exercises are for working on flicking, and one of the really important exercises before attempting the flicking technique exercise, the octaves with the numbers underneath, I'm referring to the exercises in the back of the workbook if you'd like to see them. But before working on the exercise where we're going to time our thumb leaving and returning to the whisper key so that it can use the A flick key, it's worth practicing a little bit of voicing flexibility. And there's a really easy exercise to do that. I'm mostly going to use A and B flat because those are two common flick notes. But these exercises work for A, B flat, B, C, and D. Just not C sharp, because C sharp has a different fingering and no flick key. So I'm going to be focusing on A right now, and with the whisper key down, I can still play both octaves of A. So normally I would only have that whisper key down for low A, and it would be up so that I could use this key for flicking the high A. But in this case, just because I'm going to really practice my voicing, I'm going to leave the whisper key down for both octaves, and I'm just going to think do for my low note, my low A, and do for my high A. And to help it respond, I'm going to go ahead and tongue so that I can get that higher octave to respond. Do, do. So the goal is that the lips don't firm up a whole lot, and the bassoon player can learn that they can not only get notes up to pitch, but help notes respond at a higher register by changing that voicing, which changes really the nature of the air, and gets the tongue in a better position for faster air for that high note. I can do the same thing on B flat, leaving the whisper key down the whole time. Now, a little bit of embouchure firming up, especially when you say do, is probably going to happen. But you want them to be focusing on placing those voicings at the front of the mouth and focusing on using that air to be the impetus for moving up the octave, rather than squeezing or biting down on the reed. So after you've developed a little bit of do, do octave practice, then you can go to flick technique. Now the trick here, like I mentioned, is that on a low A, my thumb is down for low A. That's what the whisper key is for, to get it to respond in the low octave. And then to get a clean response in the higher octave, I need to use my A flick key, this big one right here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to break it up into 4 beats. Beat 1 is going to be regular fingering with the whisper key. Then on beat 2, I'm going to lift my thumb and move toward the flick key. On beat 3, I'm going to press the flick key down. Even though in regular playing I would flick it quickly as I tongue, for this exercise, because that's kind of an unusual fingering technique, I'm just going to leave it down on beat 3. And then beat 4 is lifting that flick key and coming back down to the whisper key. Now, because the flick key isn't usually left open unless there's some kind of alternate fingering going on, you'll hear a difference between when the flick key is held open and when it's closed, okay? But the whisper key doesn't make as much of a difference. Remember, the whisper key is just there to help notes respond in the low octave, okay? So, beat 1 is whisper key down. 2, I move toward the flick key. 3, I'm going to put the flick key down. 4, I lift the flick key up. So I'm playing the low A on 1 and 2, and then as I hit the flick key, I should be slurring up to the high octave for 3 and 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And this can also be used on A, B flat, B, C, and D. Sounds something like this. make sure you take a nice big breath. So I should also be using those voicings I practiced in the last exercise with a do on 1 and 2 and the do on 3 and 4 on the high octave. Here it is with B flat. Notice I moved up to the next flick key, which is used for B flat, B natural, and C. And if your bassoon has it, the high D key, obviously, is for use with D. So practice this exercise to learn how to move early from the thumb to get to flicking in time. Then the exercise gradually delays beat 3 a little longer so that there's a shorter time on the flick key. So the next version of the exercise would be something like, for A, and you can gradually shrink the time that it takes to lift this key and depress and lift the flick key to work on flicking technique. So that's a great exercise to practice proper flicking technique, and it breaks it down for a student who's new to the whole thing. Practice that exercise, and if you need to see it written out, look in the back of the workbook for Duran exercises.